In the early 1970s, a family moved into a large old house in a quiet neighborhood on Long Island, New York. The house stood still and silent at the end of the street, its windows staring blankly at anyone who passed by. It looked beautiful from the outside, with white walls, a sloping roof, and a calm lake behind it. To anyone else, it was a dream home. But for the family that moved in, it slowly became a nightmare they could not escape. The father, mother, and their 3 children were excited when they first arrived. The price of the house had been surprisingly low for such a big property. Friends told them they were lucky. The children ran from room to room, laughing and choosing their bedrooms. The air inside felt cold, but they thought it was just because the house had been empty for some time. The first night was quiet. Too quiet. At exactly 3:15 in the morning, the father suddenly woke up. He didn't know why. The room felt strangely cold, even though the windows were closed. He checked the clock beside the bed. 3:15. He turned over and tried to sleep again, but something felt wrong. A strange fear sat in his chest and he couldn't explain it. The next morning, everything seemed normal. The children played, the mother arranged furniture, and the father left for work. But that night, the same thing happened again. At exactly 3:15 a.m., he woke up. This time he heard a faint sound downstairs. It sounded like someone walking slowly across the floor. He held his breath and listened. Step, step. He thought maybe one of the children had woken up and gone downstairs. He got out of bed and quietly walked down the hallway. The house was dark. When he reached the stairs, the sound stopped. He turned on the light and went down slowly. The living room was empty. The kitchen was empty. The doors were locked. The windows were shut. He stood there for a moment, feeling the cold air brush against his skin. Then he went back upstairs, telling himself it was just his imagination. But the next night, it happened again. 3:15 a.m. This time the cold was stronger. He could see his breath in the air. As he sat up in bed, he heard something different. A soft whisper. It was so quiet he almost thought he was dreaming. It sounded like someone calling his name from far away. He looked at his wife. She was asleep. The whisper came again, faint, slow, almost like it was coming from inside the walls. Over the next few days, strange things began happening in the house. Doors that were left open would suddenly be closed. Chairs would move slightly from where they had been placed. The children started complaining about being cold even when the heater was on. One night, the youngest child woke up crying. When the mother rushed into her room, the little girl pointed to the corner and said she saw a man standing there. A tall man with dark eyes who just watched her. The mother checked the room. No one was there. She tried to calm her daughter, telling her it was just a bad dream. But the little girl kept shaking her head, saying the man wasn't gone. She said he was still watching. Days turned into weeks, and the strange events grew stronger. The father began waking up every single night at 3:15. He started feeling angry for no reason. Small things began to bother him. He snapped at his family over nothing. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't think clearly. Sometimes while sitting alone, he felt like someone was standing behind him. When he turned around, no one was there. The mother started hearing noises too, footsteps in empty rooms, knocking sounds from inside the walls. One evening, while washing dishes, she felt someone gently touch her shoulder. She turned quickly, thinking it was one of the children. But the kitchen was empty. One afternoon, the children were playing upstairs when they suddenly ran down screaming. They said the windows in their room had slammed shut on their own. One of them said he saw a shadow moving across the wall, even though the lights were on. That night, the father checked every window and door before going to bed. Everything was locked. Everything was still. At 3:15 a.m., he woke up again. This time, the sound was louder. It sounded like something heavy was being dragged across the floor downstairs. Slowly. Steadily. He grabbed a flashlight and walked down the stairs. His heart was beating fast. The sound stopped as soon as he reached the living room. He looked around. Nothing. Then, suddenly, the front door creaked open by itself. Cold air rushed inside. The flashlight flickered. The house felt darker than before. He walked slowly toward the door and pushed it shut. His hands were shaking. As he turned around, he heard a voice right behind him, a low whisper, almost touching his ear. He spun around quickly, but no one was there. The next morning, he told his wife they needed to leave. He couldn't explain why, but he felt something was very wrong with the house. It didn't feel like a home anymore. It felt like something else lived there with them. But moving was not easy. They had spent all their savings on the house. They tried to ignore the fear and continue living normally. Then one night something happened that they could not ignore. The mother woke up to a loud crash downstairs. She rushed out of bed and ran to check. When she reached the living room, she saw a chair lying on the floor. The window was open. Cold wind was blowing inside. And on the wall there were deep scratch marks. Long, uneven marks, like something had been dragged across it again and again. She called her husband. The children woke up too. They all stood there, staring at the wall in silence. No one had any explanation. That same night, at 3:15 a.m., all the doors in the house suddenly slammed shut at the same time. The sound echoed through the entire place. The children screamed. The lights flickered on and off. The father ran to open the front door, but it wouldn't move. It felt like something was holding it from the other side. The whispering sound returned, louder now. It filled the house. It sounded like many voices speaking at once, but none of the words were clear. The family huddled together, terrified. After what felt like hours, the noises suddenly stopped. The doors unlocked. The lights came back on. The house went silent again. But this time the silence felt heavier, darker. By morning they made their decision. They packed whatever they could and left the house. They didn't care about the money. They didn't care about anything else. They just wanted to get out. As they drove away, the mother looked back one last time. She later said that she saw something standing at one of the upstairs windows. A dark shape, tall, still, watching them leave. The house remained empty for a long time after that. Neighbors avoided walking near it. Some people said they still heard strange sounds late at night. Some claimed the lights turned on and off even when no one was inside. Years passed, but the story never faded. People still talk about the house. About the family who left in fear. About the strange things that happened at 3:15 in the morning. No one knows exactly what was in that house. But those who lived there believed one thing for sure. They were never alone.